Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Design Shift, the crossroads of design and mindset. I'm your host, Blair Cho, and this is actually our first time recording video, so I'm super excited for it. I'm also super excited for today's guest. She's a certified empowerment coach, helping female entrepreneurs from across the world build their wealth through their business based on their individual soul designs. Having experienced the highs and lows of financial success herself, she worked to overcome her family's generational patterns, her own toxic money story, and her personal limiting beliefs. Since releasing her money trauma and transforming her financial mindset, she's now able to confidently handle her own business, large sums of money, and has even learned how to invest. She is a role model for me as well as all women. Introducing Jessie Chiang.
Hi, thank you so much for the nice introduction.
Thank you. So I've been following you on social media for a long time, and I was actually a beta tester for one of your financial mindset programs a long time ago. And I really just always love reading your inspiring and thought-provoking posts online. So I'm super excited that you agreed to be on today.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. I'm so excited to chat about this. I don't always hear from what other people have read about me or what they feel about my social media posts, so this is nice. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I love your content. I think it's great. And just for everybody listening, I'm going to upload Jessie's contact information in the show notes so you guys will be able to reach her and follow along with her as well. So when we spoke before recording this episode, you had said that you in the past had a life-changing moment that really opened up your intuition and kind of your spiritual connection. So I'm very curious to see or to know what happened and how it went and how you felt.
Sure, yeah. When I was 20 years old, I came from Malaysia to Minnesota to further my studies. And it was while I was coping with the new environment, a new school, and a new country, I experienced two big losses, which both my grandmother and my best friend passed away suddenly. And I went into this very deep grieving mode and just, try to cope with everything. And during this time, they came into my dreams and have given me very profound messages that weren't just dreams. And I was able to double check it with my best friend's mom, for example, when I went back for the summer holidays. And I told her what she wore in a dream, and it was exactly what she wore during when she passed away.
Wow.
So long story short, that kind of opened up my intuitive ability, and I started to explore what is that actually. Like there is kind of this life after death topic that I don't see a lot. So I took a lot of different, borrow some books from the libraries, go to different workshops, and took really 10 years before I actually gone into another spiritual awakening where I finally could hear voices or kind of this knowingness of what's going on in the other world. And before I know it, I went to explore. I went to a spiritual community here in California, and I met up with a reverend who is the founder of the spiritual temple that I was going to. And she's like, "You're really good at this. Why don't you just put a booth out in the psychic fair they have, the first Saturday of the month?" And so
Cool.
she borrowed me some nice crystals and a candle and a tip jar. And I put a booth out there, and that's me just started giving out readings. And so that was like, yeah, my first experience of knowing that my readings wasn't something that I created myself. I always felt like a fraud. I always felt like I was just making it up myself because the things that I hear and the things that I know, it always felt like it was just my imagination. But now I know how to really differentiate that it was really from the other side versus me. So yeah, that was a great validation to hear that people find my readings very accurate. And a year after that, I got my own office, was giving reading full time. So I was doing energy healing and doing workshops. So that kind of really propelled me, or that was a catalyst for me, like to start coaching and doing readings and helping other women to really tap into their self wisdom and their own spiritual self. And
Yeah.
so that's where I would run business from. It's this It's that innate drive to help people.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what does it feel like when you meet somebody? Like, do you instantly get a reading from them? Do you have to like tune in? How does it work?
So I just take a few seconds to tune in, and I try not to use any cards or anything so that I don't get swayed by, what's in the card.
Like,
So yeah, I just tune in and I will connect with their spirit guides or their angels, and I will ask them what I need to know. And I basically act like a conduit. I'm a phone basically, and I relay all the messages that I hear. But I also pick up people's energy in terms of like, how big of their aura is and what they've dealt with in the past. I also get to see their past lives and what they're supposed to do here in this lifetime and what they're really good at. What are the things that they come with or the gifts that they come with that
wow.
is supposed to help other people. I kind of, it's almost like like I receive a package from this person and then I open up and like, oh, this is the story. This is what I'm getting. And I'm just sharing with you what I'm seeing.
Is this something you can do virtually or you have to be in person to like touch the person?
Both. Yeah, I can do it virtually. I can also sometimes read people who are close to you. So if you have friends or family that you're really close to, I can also tell like, oh yeah, she's this kind of person, or this is what she would do, or this is how she would help you with. I also know like if there's people who has passed on to the other side and then they're close to you, I can pick that up as well. Yeah.
It's kind of crazy just thinking about, you and I could pass each other on the street and you could just pick
Yeah.
something from me. Like, is your mind constantly jumbled with, oh my gosh, I see this and this?
Yeah, exactly. I actually I was telling a friend earlier today, I said, being an empath is such a gift and a curse at the same time. But over the years, I've learned how to shut that down so that I can be a normal human being. Because, if I go on a party, if I hang out with girlfriends, I really just want to be there, be present with them and not read too much into it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know how to like, shift that out when I really just want to be human and enjoy being there.
Yeah. Kind of set those boundaries with yourself.
Yeah.
Great. Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So when you had this kind of increased openness to your intuition, kind of started with all this, how did it influence you to focus on spiritual money mindset? Because I know that you focus on that a lot with clients and on your social media. So how did you kind of turn to the money mindset piece specifically?
Great question. When I first started doing readings, a lot of entrepreneurs would come to me and their first concern is always about money. And then rightfully so. I've always been concerned about money. My story, if you read about it, you know that I have struggled a lot with my family financial issues. And so I think I've always been really interested to create a lot of income, not so because I'm greedy, but because I just really want to create more impact and help more people. But when I connect with the angels, I learned that money isn't just something that is really hard to receive. I learned from them that money is actually energy, just like everything else. The thoughts that we create, the actions that we do, it creates energy as well.
Okay.
So if we really look into the things that we have here in front of us, they're all made up of atoms. Everything is energetically made up of atoms. So it's the same thing that goes with money. So when they share that with me, I start seeing how the things that I've wanted have always been energetically me thinking of that thought. And then I attract those things to me. When I make the decision, like I want to go overseas to further my studies, it all happened for me because
Right.
I made that decision. So I made the decision that I want to make more money. I'm actually creating that path to make more money. So when I start seeing not only that we are all required to work hard, we get all this idea like we have to work hard to make more money, but I really feel like we need to align our energy to that abundance that we want to attract. And so over the years, I've kind of gotten the gist of like, how do we manifest? And we truly can manifest. And I've seen myself done that so many times and then also fail so many times. that was because I saw how misaligned I get at times.
Gotcha.
So I think that, we need to think in terms of how can we do this with ease and flow? Whereas a lot of people will tell you to make more money, we need to just hustle
Right.
and grind and sacrifice our health and our family. And it
Right.
doesn't have to be this way.
Right. It's
Yeah.
funny because I was actually on the phone with my mom earlier when I was on the way home from work, and I was telling her that I was going to record this evening. And she was like, "You're not spending any money on that podcast, are you? It's so hard to make money, and money doesn't grow on trees, and you shouldn't be spending your money like on something like that." And, that's kind of been my family's mindset. Money doesn't grow on trees. It's hard to make money. You have to hustle. You have to work every day really hard. And I really want to get away from that and kind of change my thought patterns because that is what I grew up with and what's ingrained in me.
Yeah, absolutely. It was the same way. I think the generations before us, they gone through quite a bit of trauma themselves, and there's this poverty mindset because people have gone through war, people have gone through really bad times where financial is really tough for them.
Yeah.
But we have it a lot easier now that everything is available for us. Resources are easier to get. There's more help.
Right.
Social media is out there. So it's a lot easier for us to do business, not to discount that there is hurdles and challenges as well.
Right.
But we require a different way of thinking now. So what the angels had shown me was like in the past, people would have to use the rotary telephone to call each other. But
Yeah.
now we could only just pick up a phone and then we could say, hey, Siri, let's call dad, for
Yeah.
example, and we could reach anybody. So it's the same thing that we need to apply with mindset. What they had for their mindset in the past was totally outdated. And not to say there's some things we can apply, but we need to really create new stories for ourselves regarding our relationship with money.
So, what's the best way um, to create a new story about money for yourself when you have people like your parents, siblings around you who are constantly feeding you their ingrained beliefs? For example, my mom's saying money doesn't grow on trees. If she's constantly
Mhm.
telling me that, how could I kind of block her out and create my own money story?
I have to say that's really, really tough, but there's definitely a way around it. And the way that I've done it is to always review that statement and ask yourself, is that true?
Okay.
Is that true? Right? I was told that my ambition to make X amount of money is too out there. Is
Wow.
that true? So I look at other people who's making $100,000 a month. So that was really outrageous, but they made it. I have friends who are multimillionaires. They made it. So was
Yeah.
that outrageous?
Yeah.
So I start to look at what could be true for me because
Hmm.
if it haven't happened to other people, it could happen to me too. And I
That's
know
true.
there's a way there. So when I decide that this can be true for me, then what other people are telling me feels like a false belief. It wouldn't sink in as easily as I would if I didn't question that statement. Does
Right.
that make sense?
That does. And it makes me think about Abraham Hicks, where they say that a belief is just a thought that you think over and over again, or something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
That if you want to change that belief, just start thinking a different thought over and over again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And once
it takes
you,
a bit of practice.
yeah, but once you
Yeah.
have that new thought really more ingrained in you, it's easier to block everyone else out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
1000%. Yeah. Then you see this is not what I want to create in my life. And I know that maybe what your mom says that's truth for her and she's
Mhm.
seen it and that she's created
Right.
evidence around it. But
Right.
I've also seen evidence of like, wow, there's so many things that was beyond me that I didn't think was possible, but I've seen it possible. So I
Right.
create lots of evidence around it that makes it easier for me to believe that, hey, this person can achieve it. I can too.
Can you create evidence based on people that you don't know? For example, like people that I follow on social media or whatever that have said, "Oh, I'm making X amount of money per month." Can that be considered proof? that can help you change your belief, or is that kind of jaded?
I feel like you need to find a proof that is easy for you to believe it.
Okay.
That is like you don't have to question it.
Right.
Or sometimes you can look into your own life and look at some things that you have personally experienced. So there are times where like people tell me, oh, you can't do this. But then I look back into my life and say, well, I did actually some of this. But so
Right.
many of us would, when we experience success or we've, have achieved something, we are so quick to discount that as a fluke
Mm.
or just, it was a, just a one-time thing and it'll never happen again. But you
Mm-hmm.
did work hard for it. So we tend to discredit ourselves very quickly. So I think the best way is to look at proof of what you have done and what you have achieved in the past and know that you can do that and better.
Yeah.
So the more we cultivate that trust within ourselves, the better we're going to do at it. But I say if you can't find any proof in your life, like to see some of these examples, then we'll look at some people you can trust, people that you look up to easily, people that you admire. Then that way it will fit into that positivity of you want to believe that abundance can be real. Yeah.
Right. I feel also kind of like if you can't find any proof of achievement or abundance within yourself, like, maybe you should look harder, consider it on a smaller scale. Maybe you didn't make $1 million last year, but maybe,
Hmm.
you paid off your credit card or
Yeah.
you didn't go into more debt. Like those are wins for people.
I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah. I always tell people, I think what most people struggle with sometimes is they are so fixed on like, oh, I've got to see tons of money. And if I didn't make that, then I'm such a failure. And
Right.
then they keep looking at other things that I didn't achieve yet. But the
Right.
truth is, a lot of us have achieved many things. Like you said, I pay off debt. I'm able to pay out my car payment comfortably each month, or I'm able to buy my friend lunch. So all those little things actually adds up. And so if we focus more on the things that you have been able to do, although it may not be big to other people, I really want us to give credit to ourselves that we have made it. We made it this far. So who
That's,
say we can't do bigger things?
that's
So it's
true.
really taking account into all these little things that actually add up to the bigger things, right?
And I think also people have a tendency to set really unrealistic goals. Like sometimes you have to set, not to hold yourself back, but setting more realistic, easier to believe goals. Like if I set a goal for myself, hey, I'm going to make $1 million next month, I can't get my mind wrapped around actually believing that.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, I won't
Yep.
manifest it because in my mind, I don't believe it. I don't believe that it's possible. So it'd be much more realistic for me to set a goal, say, I'm going to make $10,000 extra next month and or
Mm-hmm.
$1,000 extra next month. And because that is what my mind feels more comfortable, like a more feasible number, it's easier to manifest. And once you do that, then you can say, I did it. Like I can make $2,000 next month.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of build on it.
I love that. Yeah, it's so true. I always want people to manifest a number that is realistic to you. So it's the same thing with creating a vision board. It has to look realistic to what you can imagine your life to be. If you
Right.
do something that's too out there and you just look at it like, oh yeah, I'm just flipping through magazines and I know that's not never going to be my life, then that's not going to happen. So, but
Right.
if you could see yourself, you can imagine yourself in those pictures and the numbers you're comfortable with, then you
Mm.
could see the path to get there. So as you know, manifesting is not just about like setting your intention and create those thoughts. It's also putting the actions, right? So
Yes.
what you're doing is also when you're putting in those actions to get to your goals, you're increasing the capacity for you to receive those abundance. So let's say you have successfully manifest $500 before, but now you want to increase it to $5,000. Now you're stretching yourself in different ways to receive that $5,000. But had
Hmm.
we not learned those lessons, we could manifest that $5,000 and then manifest our fridge broke because now we have to spend those money on the fridge.
Yeah.
So that's what happens when people say, when I make a lot of money, I spend a lot too.
Hmm.
And that's because they're not used to holding to the
Yes.
overflow of money.
Yes. I'm
Yeah.
actually, well, not right now. I finished it, but a book, Get Rich Lucky Bitch, you may have heard of it, but it's
Yes.
basically, okay, so it's about manifestation and money mindset. And what she says, the basic concept is if you can't get your money story straight over $10, you're not going to have it straight over $1 million. Like you have got to it's all about in your mindset. No matter how much
Yeah.
money, that's not going to fix it for you. You've got to get your mind right first.
Yeah, that was me. That was 8 years ago. Yeah, I made tons of money and we were very comfortable. I was in my late 20s. We have our own home. My business went really well, but I did not have the mindset for it. I screw it up. I've spent everything. And when I look back at that time, I wasn't comfortable holding a lot of money. And
Right.
so every time my parents needed help, I just was willing to just give it away because
Mm-hmm.
I felt safer without money. And I
Yep.
didn't know that deep inside, I felt insecure. I felt like people were going to judge me when I'm
Mm-hmm.
rich and that somebody will steal it from me. So I just gave it away so that I could feel like, okay, nobody's going to attack me now.
Right. That makes
So
sense.
yeah, so I had to create that, not just the mindset around it, but create a safety around having
Mm-hmm.
more money and know that I'm gonna be okay and I can protect myself because now I'm an adult. And so yeah, I create a lot of new stories around how can I now be comfortable with a lot more money. And if I make double the amount of money, what can I become? Who can I become?
Right. So, what would your top tip be for listeners that are working to overcome a limiting belief? Like, if you had to pick one, what would be your top tip for moving past a limiting belief?
I say, first of all, is really to surround yourself with people who have done what you wanted or have achieved what you wanted. That's the easiest way to kind of get into people's mindset or to be around that energy because energy is contagious and be really open-minded to see how things could work beyond what you have been taught.
Okay.
I think I've just been really curious about like how does this people made it when my parents told me that I can't, but how they did it, how they were able to figure it out. So I constantly stay curious and always put myself in learning mode. Like I just want to learn what other people are thinking, how they behave, how they deal with money. And I noticed that a lot of these people have very little judgment about money or
Well,
even with themselves. So when
okay.
they made a mistake, and if they made a mistake with money, they're quickly to just say, well, I've learned a lot about this experience, and they're ready to move on. They didn't
Mhm.
dwell on it. They were not negative about it. So I feel like surrounding myself with people who are comfortable with money, I begin to emulate some of those behavior and that personality as well.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's kind of it kind of makes me think about, basically my concept that your internal mindset is majorly influenced by your external surroundings. And that can definitely include the people that you're surrounded with.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yep.
100%. I think I know that sometimes, you live with your family and it's hard to avoid that.
Yeah.
And so if you're going through a time when I really need to shift this mindset, it's good to
Hmm.
kind of create that distance for a little bit.
Okay.
And then once you feel you're stronger, then now you can be around them.
Right.
But so anytime we want to make a shift, it's really good to spend a little time in solitude and making sure that your mindset is stronger, then you're able to be with other people as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I've done a lot of work on my mindset, not just regarding money, but just in general over the past year. And I have changed tremendously. But still, sometimes when I get around people that are negative or, you know, pushing their limiting beliefs on me, it is hard to kind of fight that off and not get sucked back into it.
Yeah. And if sometimes we do, then how I gauge it is really by looking at when it doesn't feel good, I know that's false.
Mm-hmm.
So what feels good to me can be true. So I start to make my own belief system to really fit in with how I feel is an ease and flow for me,
Okay.
if that makes sense. So anytime that feels positive for me, I know that's truth
Okay.
because I've seen it happen. I've done it for me. That positivity is true. But if it feels heavy, it feels like you're dragging your feet. It feels like you're creating this, like I have to do so much more to achieve that, then I don't want to subscribe to that. I don't have to either. Yeah. It may be someone else's reality, but it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be mine. Yeah.
That's a really good point that, you don't have to. You don't have to subscribe. You don't have to believe in that.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Excellent. I really like that. That's really profound to
Yeah.
me.
I'm
So,
glad.
so since you're running your online business, you're doing all this mindset work with people, empowerment coaching, helping women get their mindset right about money and life in general. What is it like as a female running an online spiritual business? I feel like things in general in this world are still, a lot of them still harder for women than for men. What have you found? What has your experience been as far as that?
I feel I can't say for everybody, but my experience, because I'm an Asian woman,
Mm-hmm.
we don't see a lot of Asian women as coaches. And especially when I also grew up in a very small town. So when I actually came out to tell people what my business is all about. I have a lot of friends from my high school and childhood, and they were all like, "What are you doing?" So there was a lot of judgments around that.
Yeah. Yeah. And
You
that can
know,
really bring you down.
sorry.
That can really bring you down when when you hear stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I definitely doubted myself for a long time, and my parents weren't very supportive of me doing this as well because it was, if you think about it, 10 years ago, you don't hear people do like one-on-one sessions like that, except if you are a psychiatrist or a counselor, And I did graduate with a psychology degree, but I just didn't get the license to be a psychologist or a therapist. But I was already familiar with that kind of work as I was volunteering in school, while I was a student. And so it was natural for me, but I think it was ahead of everybody else because most of my friends were mostly in corporate or they got married and become housewives. And it was really typical at that time and no judgment around that. So I was just different
Right.
from other people, what I was doing. So it took me some time to finally found like, oh, there's a bunch of other women entrepreneur. And I don't think I was comfortable until the pandemic happened is when I started to
Oh,
see like a bunch of people who are like me.
right.
And then not to mention there's also when I came out with my spiritual side, a lot of people also question like, oh my gosh, has she fell down somewhere and cracked her head, she became crazy. Uh, a lot of people think I was a fraud and
Yeah.
I also don't it's funny, yesterday I was just recording audio for my members talking about when I first started doing readings, people had hired me to go energy cleansing for their house.
Oh,
And then
okay.
when they met me, and by the way, I would say it was kind of the scary thing because, sometimes you go to homes that just feel very icky. And
Yeah.
so I had kind of do the dirty work, but
Yeah.
that's how I met people. And they would invite me to like do readings for parties.
Oh,
So I took that opportunity to just kind of have an experience. But of course, if I, think about it right now, I wouldn't do it. I didn't like to be deemed as the psychic that, is only here for entertainment. I am the kind of spiritual practitioner that really helps people to go for living their life purpose. So I'm not
mm-hmm.
here to just really have fun with like, oh yeah, you're going to win the lottery this month.
Yeah.
So I had to kind of really be firm with this is the kind of messages that I'm sending out to people.
Right.
And so it took a lot of years to kind of set those boundaries with some
Okay.
friends and family as well. So I'd say for the most part, I really did feel like I was misunderstood. I was judged. I didn't feel comfortable to be myself. So it wasn't as of this last few years is when I finally feel like, okay, shut up, everybody.
Right. No, I totally get that. When I was in high school, later on in high school, I was hanging out with the wrong crowd. I was really not doing the right things. I got myself on the right track. I went to college. I graduated. I followed, all the rules. I got a good job and a steady job and have great insurance and everything. But then I always found myself wanting more and wanting something different. And I read this book by Sahara Rose called Finding Your Dharma. And it's all
Mhm.
about, following your soul's purpose. And I really felt like my soul's purpose was not at my current job because I have a mortgage. I'm still working there, but I am hoping to, get more into the design business and podcasting business and YouTube and all that kind of stuff and just kind of follow my heart more. But yes, I get what you're saying. People judge you and they think you're crazy because you're not following that traditional path. And it is
Mhm.
heartening sometimes, but I finally just said, screw it. And I took the first step, started this podcast, made an Instagram page. And that is like a small win for me. But, even now people are probably watching this like, oh my God, I can't believe she's doing that.
I'm so proud of you. This is so inspiring. I'm so glad that you show up and leave your purpose. And I know how that feels, the more you
Yeah,
sit in that office and doing the work that you weren't passionate about. My gosh, it's like a slow death.
it is
You
every
just
day.
feel like you're a walking zombie.
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you for doing your work because now people can really be inspired and motivated by your story.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh, you're
Oh,
welcome.
by the way, I wanted to tell you, since you said, being an Asian female, my husband is Asian. He's Korean.
Okay, I kind of thought so because your last name is
Yeah.
Joe.
And they'll come to my office or whatever, and they're like, we're looking for Miss Cho. I'm like, that's me. That's me. And I'm like, but that's me.
Oh, that's cool. Is that Korean last name?
Korean, yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
gotcha. That's cool.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it was so great talking to you today. If listeners want to reach out, like I said, I'm going to post all your contact information in the show notes. Is there any last thoughts that you want to share with listeners?
I love to remind people that I think everyone that I have attracted to or talked to so far are empaths, and I believe you're one as well. I think people who empath often question themselves and doubt themselves, and they often get judged
Yeah.
because they're just highly misunderstood. And I think that people don't understand how empaths just really function a different way. So if you're
Hmm.
listening and you're an empath, please know that, if you are born a bird, you're supposed to fly. So you cannot try to fit in what people want of you or expect of you. You can only function the way you are and be unapologetic about it. I seriously think that we're here to really take care and help with the evolution of human beings and how they can elevate or raise their consciousness.
Hmm.
And we are here to be an example of that.
Yeah.
How you are presenting and showing up in different relationships in your life is what you need to be. You need to be that person where people would draw inspiration from you so that they
Yeah.
know how to live a more fulfilling life.
Yeah.
So while you may say, well, I didn't really do much, but really it's just the way you are and what you
Yep.
like, how you cook, how you dress, how you speak is what
Yeah.
makes a difference.
Yeah. There's no point in living life miserably just trying to fit in, just
Hmm.
trying to follow the path that other people want for you. So, yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. If you were born a bird, then you're meant to fly. Love that.
You must be flying because you can't not fly.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
spreading my wings.
Sorry?
I'm spreading my wings.
You are. And I love that you have this podcast and continue to share other people's voices as well and their messages. Yeah, I really had so much fun speaking to you.
Awesome. Me too. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.